Trump is like the return of Barry Goldwater, okay? But even better because he's got... Goldwater had a lot of stamina, but, I mean, Trump is slick. And let me tell you, there's no way Trump's fake because he's doing irrevocable damage to them. Even if he fell on his sword later, it doesn't matter. Because the fact that all these decades of work to expose the globalist plan, right as they're trying to launch it worldwide, it's failing everywhere. And nationalist movements have sprung up in every EU country with polls saying they're all going to leave. Then the big banks try to hold people hostage, and the countries just start arresting the foreign bankers that are running their countries. It's not a coup against the corrupt government. It's counter coups by governments against the globalists. And once the globalists are identified, once we're winning the info war, which Hillary admits we are, to Congress 4 years ago, it's game over. You know, to people like entertainers and people, hey, you live in big houses, you got fancy cars, you sit there and breathe the LA smog, good for you. But you see, I have a website and launched a movement 20 years ago that was just a continuation of the same movement for sovereignty and common sense and true liberalism. And see, Hillary goes into the congressional hearings and warns how they're losing the info war against the alt media. See, we're winning a war. When she goes and talks to senators, she's like, we're in deep trouble. We're losing the war. We've got to clamp down on the internet. 4 years later, they're getting ready to do it. While you're on TV doing your late shows and making jokes and having your butts kissed by your interns, that sounds like hell on earth to me. So thank God I'm living in the real world. And my listeners are living in the real world, no matter how many times people go and get some joke I do or, you know, something I'm involved in and try to misrepresent it. And I don't want to make this whole show about DrudgeReport.com or about Infowars.com, but do you understand, it's 2 months until the internet is handed over to the United Nations. The United Nations is sending 10 times the observers they've ever sent to our elections this year. But they're not here to stop fraud. They're here to make sure it takes place. They've actually said that. They're here to make sure people don't have to have IDs to vote and all the rest of it. Since when did the UN become God? Since when did they set up the Strong Cities initiative that's run by the UN, has the power of the Justice Department behind it to enforce these edicts against local governments and to take over the police? This is fantastical. If you were the UN backed by big mega banks and the Rockefellers had donated the land to set up this world government 60-something years ago and you were almost there, what's the first group you've got to take over in a covert takeover? Local governments and police departments when you've already got the federal government. Then there's a desperate insurrection by the army mainly. Oh, it's the army. We're not being directed by the army. We're not in bed with the army. I don't even really talk to the army. It's just the doors go open up. The surveillance comes in, the Overwatch, all of it, as the U.S. Army, more than any other group, is fighting globalism, fighting our government's alliance with Islamicists. I told you 3 years before Cy Hirsch, Pulitzer Prize winner, came on, and I said the entire battle plan of shipping the missiles out of Libya into Syria. I had all the guests on that laid it out, all the information, how they were funding a proxy army, how they were making deals with Islamicists, how they would then invade Europe in the next stage of destabilization. We laid it all out, and then Cy Hirsch came on a year ago or less and said, yes, you're absolutely right. Here's the whole battle plan, and published a huge article in the London Review of Books and in the New Yorker where the U.S. Army refused 4 years ago to arm al-Qaeda, which they then turned into ISIS to confuse the public names and to get the public off the trail that Obama and Hillary and NATO and the globalists, and at that time Sarkozy and the rest of them, were funding al-Qaeda. That's why the British voted in their parliament to not be part of it 3 years ago, because even they were like, this is too much, turning a jihad army loose on Europe after they take down Syria, which is the front door into Turkey and into Europe. You understand? Cy Hirsch came on and said, yes, What you covered, what your guest covered is it. It's all true.
Talk show host is Alex Jones. He's a conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
Deeply, I think, racist.
I just got called racist by MSNBC.
I don't want that man to have a gun.
1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms.
The Alex Jones Show. Watch the free stream live at Infowars.com/show.
Now we are introducing a new t-shirt, which I think folks need to get, telling the real truth about Bill Clinton, who is a serial rapist and a user of women.
In another case, it's about groping and fondling and touching against a woman's will. And rape. And rape.
Bill rapes them physically, and then Hillary rapes them psychologically.
He's a rapist.
Absolutely.
He's a public figure and goes straight to hell.
Get your Bill Clinton rape shirt today at InfoWarsStore.com or call 1-800-253-3139.